Hello and welcome to another episode of Those Two IM Guys with myself, James Kennedy, and my co-host, Anthony Earp, or Tony Earp to his friends. So what are we talking about today, Tony? Tell us all about it.
Hi, James. Great to be here. Hello to our viewers and listeners. Today, we're going to have a nice conversation about your favorite topic, SEO, which, in case anybody doesn't know, is search engine optimization. James, don't fall to sleep, okay? Just for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, this is not James's favorite subject, guys. He's a bit like the kid in the classroom that hates math, and he starts falling asleep. So we'll have to give him a little nudge occasionally, okay?
Definitely not my favorite subject at all. It's just because for me, it's been so confusing. So many people bombarding me with so much information on different subjects and how it's done this way and how it's done that way and what's this and what's that. And literally, I just get completely lost. I feel as if I'm in the SEO maze. So Tony, hopefully you can elaborate and help me as well as all our viewers and listeners today on literally what SEO is all about in a nutshell.
Yeah, and I'm going to do my best to do that, James. But, you know, we're not going to say it's an exciting topic because it's not, unless you're really, you know, into technical stuff and data and that sort of thing. The majority of people are going to find it a pretty boring subject, to be honest with you, like yourself. But it's a necessity, and it's what I want to stress to our viewers and listeners. It's really important that even if you're going to outsource this in your business, that you understand the basics of SEO and what it's all about. Yeah, and that's what the intention of this episode is to give you that foundation, the understanding of the basics, so that you can then, you know, you're armed with all the information and knowledge that you need moving forward. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. So SEO, let me tell you what it is first of all. Yeah. And a little bit about how it works. Now, as I said, guys, it's very important that you understand the basics of SEO, even if you're going to outsource this work to somebody with more expertise. Yeah. So SEO is basically, it's the process of taking steps to help a website or a piece of content rank higher on Google and the other search engines. To make it a little bit simpler to understand, search engine optimization means taking a piece of online content and optimizing it. So search engines like Google show it towards the top of the page in the search engine results, or what we call the SERPs, when someone searches for something like your business, your product, or your service. Does that make sense, James?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so that's a basic understanding of a description of what SEO is, yeah? So are you aware that there are different types of SEO?
Yes, only I kind of know online and offline, and after that, I'm kind of lost.
Okay. Well, before we go into the different types of SEO, James, let me just say that SEO is like anything else. It's all about consistency. That's the key to being successful with search engine optimization, yeah? And there's various tools and various resources out there that we're going to go through during this episode that's going to help our viewers and listeners along the way. But one of the things I will say is that SEO, it's not a one-time set and forget thing, James. It's basically a constant battle with the search engines and your competitors, you know, that are relevant in your niche to maintain and improve your rankings. Yeah. So consistency is the key.
Can I ask you, Tony, before we go into this, as someone who knows SEO, speaking to someone who doesn't know SEO so well, but knows a little bit, how would you say this would be a part of something like their daily routine? Is this something that people should take 20 minutes, 30 minutes per day? Or is it something they should maybe commit an hour or two a week? Or how would you suggest that people...
I don't think you can actually set an amount of time on it, James. It's certainly something that should be consistent, but how long that consistency needs to be is going to depend on the niche you're in, how competitive it is, etc., etc. Yeah.
And how many, obviously,
because some niches are much easier to rank in for your content and your website than other niches. You know, for example, if you're trying to rank for a weight loss product or something, it's going to be extremely difficult depending on the keywords that you're going for. You need to be going for long tail keywords. Again, keyword research, that's something else we touched on previously in a different previous episode. So we're not going to go into that any in depth anymore on this particular episode. but yeah, you've got to do your keyword research and make sure you're going for keyword phrases you've got a chance of ranking in. Yeah. So it all depends on your niche. It's as simple as that. Some are way more competitive than others, and you really need to do your research, again, using all the correct tools to give you the data so that you know how much effort you're going to have to put in your particular niche.
Yeah, I was just thinking, if you're a chimney sweep in Glasgow, there's not that many chimney sweeps required these days. And
no, exactly, yeah.
So obviously that would be something.
Yeah, and that's a good example. Yeah, the competitiveness of your niche is paramount on. It's a direct correlation to how much work you're going to have to put in from a search engine optimization perspective, James. Yeah.
Awesome.
Now, what I will say is, there's lots of tools out there that are really helpful. For example, a great tool is WordPress. I'm a big fan of WordPress, James. It's a very SEO friendly platform. Now, how many websites do you think use WordPress in 2021, James?
Oh, it's millions upon millions. In my opinion, I would say it's probably nearly half the amount of websites online, because there's so many people using WordPress now. Okay,
well, this may surprise you, and it certainly will probably surprise our viewers and listeners, but over 455 million websites use WordPress as of 2021. Wow. And that number basically continues to grow every year. When you consider that there's about 1.3 billion total websites across the internet, that's a pretty impressive number, don't you think? Yeah.
Not far off half, actually. Yeah, I was not far wrong. I thought.
Yeah. So that shows you how popular it is. Wow. In fact, I'll give you another statistic here. 62% of the top 100 fastest growing companies in the United States use WordPress to power their websites. Yeah. So that should give you an indication of how popular it is. Yeah.
I'd like to know what theme they're using.
Now, we've got different types of SEO, of course, James. Yeah. Do you know what they are?
I know offline, online, and then I'm done.
Okay, we'll go through the main categories of SEO, because search engine optimization is one big category, and then you've got subcategories to that. Yeah. So first up is on-page SEO. Now, on-page SEO, sometimes referred to as on-site SEO, is the process of optimizing the content on your website. Now, this can include the text in the body and the copy of your page, the keywords, the headers, the meta titles, meta descriptions, images, and much, much more, James. Yeah. Is that something you've done yourself previously? Have you attempted to do any of that type of on-page SEO?
Yes, Tony, I have. And on several occasions, I've actually paid other people. Now, going back when internet was just a baby, and I paid people who can actually do SEO copywriting for me. And the copy did not read well at all, because they were just literally putting keywords in here, there, and everywhere. But actually, to read the text, it made no sense. I know now that's changed.
Yeah, I mean, that was old school SEO, James. That's basically what we used to call, or still call, keyword stuffing. Yeah. The search engines have massively moved on from those days. Everything's more. It's all about relevancy. If you think about what the search engines are trying to do, they're trying to deliver relevant content based on what the user is searching for. Yeah. So if somebody's searching for a red polka dot bike in Michigan, they want them to find a red polka dot bike in Michigan. Extreme example, but you get my point. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. And it's the same for any product, service or business, basically, James. So that's on-page SEO. The next type of SEO is off-page SEO. And off-page SEO is pretty much everything that does not happen on your website, James. It's what happens off your website, yeah? Mm. And off-page SEO, it's all about creating exposure and trust about your company, which ultimately can result in more visitors to your website and sales, yeah?
So am I right in saying those things I was going to say, am I right in saying those things are like maybe blog posts and backlinks? Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, most off-page SEO work is focused on link building. And if you're unaware of that, link building is a practice of getting more, or not more, but other reputable websites to link back to your site. Have you had anything to do with backlinks, James?
Yeah, I've paid people to send them to so many backlinks in the past through these SEO clerks and things like that. But it was all websites that were random stuff that was not relevant at all, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's with backlinks, it's always quality over quantity. You know, please don't be going to these sites like Fiverr, guys, and ordering 1,000 backlinks where you don't know where they're coming from. If you don't know the source of a backlink, don't buy it. Simple as that. Yeah. And quality always beats quantity. If you go and buy a load of these poor quality backlinks, they're going to do nothing but damage your online reputation and your search engine optimization. Yeah, they're not going to do you any favors, guys. So always go for quality over quantity. And as James just said, it's about relevancy as well. You know, if your website is about marquees, as an example, James, do you want a backlink from a baker's website or a plumber's website? There's no relevancy in that, is there? So the quality of the link is important, but also the relevancy of the link, the backlink to your website, is important as well. Yeah. And you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you said you've bought some backlink packages yourself previously.
Yes, I did. I can't remember whether it was Fiverr or SEO clerks or something like that. But again, I paid for it. I got them within 24 hours, and it was like websites that I had never. I think somebody had just created 1,000 different random websites and put these things on. It just made no sense.
Yeah. A lot of people, they create what's called a PBN, a personal blog network, and they'll basically sell you backlinks from those sites. One, they're not relevant to your particular niche. Two, they're poor quality because they've got no authority.
No.
Yeah. You're better off reaching out to other people in your industry, you know, to relevant blogs, you know, local business forums, that sort of thing, and asking them, can you write an article and include a backlink back to your website from those types of, you know, those types of other websites. They're far more relevant and far more powerful than, you know, getting these ones we just spoke about. Yeah, these spammy ones. Yeah,
just the kind of subject that you talked about for the example was the marquee, but actually when you talk about that, the baker, you could potentially write a blog about marquees to a baker who does wedding cakes. I'm not saying a regular that makes pork pies and sausage rolls, but like a wedding cake maker. You know, it just kind of got things working.
Yeah. There's got to be a relevancy, James.
Yes, you know, but those would actually, like a cake maker, a wedding cake maker, and a marquee could actually show. They could actually do what makes your wedding a little bit different. You know, I see where that's all going now. You've got my mind open. I like that.
If there is a connection in services,
it can work.
For example, you know, somebody that sells wedding rings could provide a backlink to someone that does wedding cakes, because there's a relevancy around weddings. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the sort of thing we're talking about. It doesn't have to be a direct competitor in your niche.
No.
So you're in marquees, you don't have to contact all your competitors in the marquee niche in your service area for backlinks. That's not what we're talking about. Yeah. But yeah, definitely reach out to blogs and forums and, you know, newsletter sites, etc. You know, any sort of business related content relevant to your niche. Reach out to those websites and to see if you can provide an article or something to get a backlink. Yeah.
Just when we're using this example, can I ask you a question? Now, for example, I'm a marquee supplier in Glasgow and I only go as far as Edinburgh to Dumfries and Galloway. Right. Okay, so a portion of Scotland, but I don't go to Aberdeen and I don't go to Carlisle or Manchester or London. Would it be advisable to then put competitors' links in various areas? Obviously,
absolutely.
Not really competitors, but same people.
Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, in your example, if your business just covers Glasgow, if you're getting backlinks from companies that provide the exact same services in a different part of the country, that's doing you no harm or them any harm whatsoever, is it?
That's what I was thinking. And you're doing your
you
clients
could
a service
basically
as well.
literally say, you could literally say to a company in England, you give me a backlink and I'll reciprocate.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The fact that somebody comes on my website and I'm like looking for your location, Manchester. I'm like, well, I ain't going to travel and take my marquee to Manchester.
If you're a local business, James, that's possible. But if you're a national entity, that becomes a bit more difficult to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's a little bit. We went a little bit
over
sideways on that, James.
Sorry. I was just kind of trying to bring it all together to make it.
That's all right. No. It was what we went off. The subject we went off on was relevant to what we were talking about on off-page SEO. Sorry. So we just expanded on it a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, number 3, and this is where I start losing people, James. Don't go to sleep on me. But number 3 is technical SEO. And basically, technical SEO, it refers to the actions performed to help the search engines crawl your website and enhance the user experience, James, or what we call the UX. Yeah, were you aware of that type of SEO?
No, that's the stuff that I would just pay somebody to do. That's just something that freaks me out.
Okay. Fortunately, there's tools that can automate a lot of this technical SEO for you, James, which you'll be more than pleased to hear, I'm sure. Yeah. So what you need to understand is that as search engines and their algorithms become more complex, these requirements change, which means that this type of SEO is always evolving, James. In order to make sure that there are not any problems with crawlability and the user experience, your technical SEO efforts need to be very efficient, because it's super important that the search engines can crawl your website correctly, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Have you ever, I think I know the answer to this, but have you ever sort of touched on any technical SEO yourself?
I did put a plug into a WordPress site once.
I don't think that counts.
No, well, maybe no then. I put a plugin in that does that kind of stuff, but no.
So the answer is what I expected. No.
Peter says no.
Fair enough. Well, to be honest with you, as I say, there's tools out there that can automate a lot of this technical SEO for you, which you'll be pleased to hear about, as I am, as I'm sure our viewers and listeners will be. But you can also outsource all that side of things as well if you need to. There's so much great information available for free online, guys. I'm going to give you some great resources towards the end of the show today, that you can, Google and go and have a look at those resources. I'll also put the links in a post on our website, James, in the recommended resources as well for all our viewers and listeners. But yeah, there's so much great free information out there that you don't need to be overwhelmed by this. Search for something specific, relevant, and believe it or not, the search engines will give you what you're looking for. Yeah. And that's because of search engine optimization. Just trying to prove the point. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So next up, number 4, the 4th type of SEO is local SEO. Now, James, local SEO, believe it or not, is a completely separate thing to general SEO. It's a skill set in its own. Are you familiar with local SEO at all?
Well, the thing I know about kind of local stuff is the Google My Business thing. So I don't know if that would be classed as local SEO.
Yeah, Google My Business, in my opinion, is just as important for a local business provider as a website is. So they go hand in glove. If you've got a website and you're a local business, you need a GMB, you need a Google My Business profile, fully optimized, of course. Yeah, we'll touch on that a little bit more in a few minutes. But yeah, you're right in what you're saying. It's very, very important for a local business to have a GMB listing. Yeah. Now, basically, as I say, local SEO, it's a variation of SEO that it focuses in on a specific area, or local service area, James, rather than a national focus. And it's all about increasing your online presence in your community and promoting your products or services to local customers. Often, how well you rank on Google depends, as we've just touched on your Google My Business profile as well. This is where you can include what we call your NAP, James. So your name, address and phone number of your business, you know, your business hours, your description, your reviews, your photos, all that sort of thing. Yeah. Were you aware of that?
Yes, I know the Google My Business type model where you kind of put all the bits and pieces in, your opening hours, your closing hours, etc., etc.
Yeah. Your Google My Business profile, your website, any citations you've got from business directory listings. In the UK, we have like Yell, well, Yell's global anyway, yell.com, or in more local, we have Thomson Local in the UK, James, don't we? You can create a free business listing on those directories, and there's many, many, many more across the world. It's very important that your NAP, your name, address, and phone number for your business remain exactly the same, so that you get the benefit of the backlinks from those external sources. Yeah.
Okay.
Just a top tip for our viewers and listeners. That,
as I was going to say, that is a bit of a top tip there, guys. Just make sure that you're aware of that. As Tony said, make sure they always stay the same, because if you don't,
yeah, they've got to be the same. They've got to be consistent, because otherwise, how are the search engines supposed to know it's you know, that backlink is relevant to the same business? Yeah, they're not going to know otherwise, are they? So it's about keeping your NAP absolutely consistent throughout. Okay. You still there, James?
Yeah, I'm still here. I haven't froze up. I'm just listening.
Sorry, I thought I'd lost you there. I thought I'd lost you.
I glazed over.
Now, the benefits of local SEO can include: 1, it's highly targeted; 2, it's free, and we love free, James, don't we?
I love free.
And there is a much greater opportunity to rank locally, since, believe it or not, only 44% of businesses actually claim their Google My Business listing, James. That's staggering, isn't it? Only 44% claim it.
I think it's insane. I can't believe it.
I mean, if you're a local consultant that works with local businesses, what a fantastic business opportunity that is.
Absolutely.
For you to get your foot in the door, you know? Yeah.
We have spoken about that in the past.
You know, offer to claim and optimize the Google My Business listing free for the client. What a great start to your relationship, your business relationship with them. And then once you've done that and you've got your foot in the door, you can then start offering them additional services like SEO, like website design, you know, video production, etc., video marketing, etc., social media marketing. Yeah. You know, the list is endless, isn't it, James?
Yeah, and I think the thing is, a lot of people, and I hope people will listen to what I'm just about to say, we kind of shy away from doing anything for free, because we're all of this mindset of, oh, but I get paid so much per hourly rate when I was working for here or XYZ, but now I'm out working for myself. Why I should be making more for my hourly rate and not actually my doing things for free. But the problem is, and my father's always said this, sometimes you've got to throw the fish to catch the whale. And that's the biggest challenge, because you could be sitting here all day looking for people to hire you, and you're sitting doing nothing, when you could actually be doing something productive to help somebody. And even if they don't become your customer, I'm pretty sure they're going to point you in the right direction or recommend you to someone else down the line.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, referrals is key to any business, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's key.
You know, especially if you're in, you know, the digital world, where you're providing digital services, referrals, you know, are absolutely essential to the growth and scalability of your business. Yeah. But yeah, I think your dad's phrase there is spot on, you know. And who's going to be more memorable out of 100 consultants? If you're the one that's offering to do something for a local business owner, let's face it, right now, businesses are on tough times.
Absolutely.
You know, coming out of COVID and everything, James. Who's going to be more memorable? The 99 consultants that are asking for, you know, money, or the one that's prepared to do it for free?
Yeah, absolutely. And just remember, I mean, just because you've done that one service for free, it doesn't mean that you need to be cheap and free for the rest of the services.
Not at all, no.
You know,
it's literally just and let's be realistic here. Google My Business is free. It's not costing the consultant anything. It's all it's costing the consultant is a bit of time and expertise. That is it.
Yeah.
It gets your foot in the door with the business owner, gets you off on a tremendous footing right off. And then once you've got that relationship started, you can then start to get into offering paid services. Yeah.
Especially if they've actually started to convert customers more than they had before. I mean, if you generate that business an extra 5 or 10 customers that month, that's money that they have now got that they never had before, that they can reinvest in something to take them to the next level. And that's really interesting.
As I said a few moments ago, Google My Business is as important as a website for a local business. They go hand in hand. You shouldn't have one without the other. And the fact that 44% of businesses don't claim their listing is shocking. Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible for local businesses, but a great opportunity for local consultants, for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I was speaking to a local business guy last week, and he just really talented guy, could literally do anything when it came to fitting kitchens or fixing roofs, etc., but had no idea. He was terrified of even setting up a Facebook business page, you know. And it's like, this is a guy that's got skills, who's making money, and will quite happily pay somebody to fix these problems for them. Sometimes we think that people are always going to be on the offensive when we offer a service, but sometimes they're just crying out for it.
Yeah, and let's be honest, business owners are busy people. They haven't got time to learn about SEO or website design or anything else. Why should they? They're expertise in their own field.
Exactly.
You know, if I want a loaf of bread, I go to a baker. I'm not going to learn to make a loaf of bread myself unless, you know, I've got the time to do it. But generally, most people don't. You're just going to go to the business that provides that service, aren't you?
Yeah, ain't nobody got time for that stuff. That's for sure.
No, exactly. And this is what we're talking about with SEO. Understand the basics. It doesn't mean you have to be an expert in SEO, James. Just educate yourself, understand the basics. That's going to help you two ways. It's going to help you understand what SEO exactly is and what's important in SEO and the different types of SEO. But also, if you do decide to outsource it, you're not going to be completely naive to what SEO is about. Someone's not going to be able to pull the wool over your eyes, are they?
Exactly what I was thinking. The very words.
Yeah, because you've educated yourself and you've got some basic knowledge of it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which means that if you do outsource the SEO, you're going to be able to get a fair price for the service. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's reasons behind everything, guys. So educate yourself regarding the basics of search engine optimization. It'll stand you in good stead in the long term. Yeah. Okay, James, we've not finished yet. We've got another type of SEO.
Oh man, no, I'm only joking. Genuinely, I'm finding this interesting because
this one is super important, and it's probably the most overlooked type of SEO there is, and that is image SEO. Are you familiar with it, James?
Only since you told me about it, to be honest, and that was something that kind of was quite wow, to be honest. You know, I didn't realize what was involved.
Yeah, well, it's basically the process of optimizing the images on your website so they're easy for the search engines to read and find. And it consequently improves the visibility and rankings of your content in Google and the other search engines. Because believe it or not, James, the search engines can't see your images. They can only read the text that's in them, yeah? Were you aware of that?
I wasn't until you told me. So, as I say, that was something that I did not.
I would think that that's probably a surprise to majority of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to clarify that for our viewers and listeners, the search engines, guys, they don't see your images like we see them as humans. Yeah. They can only read the text in the file information that's in each image. They can't actually see that a dog image is a dog. You see what I mean, James?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. That makes sense.
It's important that you optimize your images as well as you know your normal on-page and off-page SEO, James. Yeah. Certainly
going forward, I'm going to be renaming a lot of my images that I'm putting up on my website. And
yeah, and you'll be pleased to know that there are tools to automate a lot of this image SEO, James, as well. I know you like the word automate.
I love automate. Automate is my
Obviously,
friend.
that allows you to save you a lot of time as well. Because even if you had 100 images on your website, James, can you imagine how long it'd take you to optimize each one individually?
Yeah, quite a bit of time.
Long time. What I will say is, guys, please don't underestimate the importance of image SEO on the site or your content. It's super, super important, and it's by far the most overlooked type of SEO. Yeah. Now, next one, James. This is the final one. You'll be pleased to know. I know it's your favorite.
No, seriously, I'm finding it interesting. Genuinely.
This is the one that you'll be most familiar with, though, because it's video SEO, and you probably do it without even realizing it. And it's simply optimizing your video to be indexed and rank on the search engine results pages for the relevant keywords. So once we've finished this episode of our show today, James,
those 2 IM guys.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to do SEO. You're going to do the video SEO without you even realizing it, aren't you?
Probably. Would that be in my description?
Yeah. You're going to give the video a title. You're going to give it a description. You're going to add. You're going to have keywords in there, and that's what we're talking about when we're talking about video SEO. Yeah.
And would those keywords be relevant? Sorry, I was going to ask. Would those keywords be relevant to some of the context of what the conversation is as well? So,
totally. Yeah.
The reason I'm asking, I've been speaking to a friend recently, and he was mentioning that actually some of the keywords. So, for example, if I was talking about SEO and those 2 IM guys, those, because that's actually in the content of the video, Google and YouTube can actually pick up on the conversation as well. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's not only, it's important to obviously speak those words in the video content, but it's also, you can put them in the relevant part when you're uploading it to your hosting, to Google, to YouTube or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're adding a video title, description, and keywords, you're actually doing video SEO, whether you realize it or not. Yeah. For a local business, James, just touching on what you were saying about speaking the words in the video, we talked about NAP, name, address, and phone number. For local businesses, it's super important that you include that even towards the end of your video content. Mention your name of your business, the address of the business, and the phone number of the business, because as you rightfully said, the search engines pick up all that information. So they can then, no matter where that video is on the internet, if you mention the NAP in the content, they know that video relates to that business. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a super powerful way of getting backlinks as well. That.
I'm noticing that through the conversation, Tony, that SEO isn't actually that difficult with the sounds of things. I think what the biggest problem is, in my opinion, and possibly maybe a lot of our viewers and listeners, we're all looking for the instant automation, easy fix. And actually, the easy fix is actually just literally doing the work, a little bit of work on a little thing constantly, and you can get there. Yeah,
you can't automate everything, of course, but you can automate 95% of SEO. The rest of it, you can take the time yourself to do it and go out and find quality backlinks that are relevant to your business, product, or service, or you can outsource it if you've got the funds to do that, James. But you can automate so much of it. We're going to touch on tools in a minute,
okay,
and other resources. But yeah, fortunately, there's an array of tools and softwares out there that can help you automate the majority of your SEO these days. Yeah. And the other thing I would say is that it can be made to seem like it's a very complicated subject, but that's usually by people that are trying to sell you an SEO service. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that. This black magic wizardry. You can't do this yourself.
They try and blind you with words that you don't understand, James.
Yeah.
Like meta tags and meta descriptions and all this fantastic fancy words, which, don't get me wrong, they all mean something, but they're made to overwhelm you.
Yeah. It's very much like that at the start of building websites. When websites came out, to get a website built, it was thousands, thousands upon thousands, even for a basic website.
This is why it's super important for our viewers and listeners to educate themselves about the different types of SEO and the basic fundamentals of it, because that gives you a lot of ammunition if you're going to outsource that work. People are not going to be able to pull the wool over your eyes because you've got that knowledge.
Yeah, you know how long something takes to do. You get an idea of what's involved.
Exactly. You've got a much better idea about the service you're going to outsource before you do that. Yeah. So yeah, education is everything, guys. Make sure you understand the basics. We're gonna tell you about tools and resources that are going to help you do that, yeah, very shortly. So that was video SEO, James, and as I say, you're already doing it and you probably didn't even realize it.
Wasn't actually aware. No, I wasn't.
All right, I'm gonna tell our viewers and listeners now about some really fantastic resources that are freely available online, James, that they can, and again, I'll put all these resources in a blog post on our website, so our viewers and listeners can go and check them out in their own time, James. Okay.
Fantastic.
But yeah, this is some really great online resources to keep updated with the latest SEO information and trends, etc. First one is Google Search Central Blog. Now, I think if you want to know anything about what's happening with Google and their algorithm, etc., I think it's pretty important that you familiarize yourself with Google Search Central Blog. Yeah.
Get it from the horse's mouth. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. The next one is Ahrefs or Ahrefs, however you want to pronounce it. All these I'm going to reel off now, James. They're top resources that our viewers and listeners can go and check out. Okay. And they're going to be able to get all the information they need to educate themselves about search engine optimization. Yeah.
Thanks, Tony.
Next one is the Moz blog. Then we've got Search Engine Land. We've got the Yoast SEO blog.
That's the one I've used, and it's very good, Tony.
Yeah, yeah, and they've got a really amazing SEO plugin that we're going to touch on in a few moments. Next up is Search Engine Journal. Again, another amazing online SEO resource. One that's very overlooked is called Backlinko, and you know that's got a lot of great information about, as you would imagine from the name, about backlinks, etc. James. So it's a great resource to go and get a lot of very good information about, you know, obtaining quality backlinks, etc. Then we've got Search Engine Watch, we've got SEMrush, and we've got the Hoth, which provides a lot of great. The Hoth provides a lot of great white label SEO services. So if you're a local business consultant, you can offer their SEO packages, but they're white labeled. So to the customer, it's you offering those, James, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
That sounds good. I was thinking it was David Hasselhoff going to be running along the beach there.
Yeah, the name's a bit unfortunate, but that's what it is. It's called the Hoth, yeah. H-O-T-H, guys. It's very difficult to pronounce as well. The next one is Rank Math. Again, they have a great blog, which is well worth you taking the time to go and look at, guys. And they've also got an amazing plugin as well, which we're going to touch on again shortly. Now, for local SEO, there's an absolutely amazing guide, which, believe it or not, it's called the Local SEO Guide. And that really
ranks well.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's great for us. They thought about the SEO on that one, James, didn't they?
It certainly did.
But the Local SEO Guide, trust me, guys, it's an amazing resource for you to find out everything about local SEO. So make sure you check that out, yeah. Next one is HubSpot, their blog. Again, they have some great general information, but for what we're talking about today regarding search engine optimization, they have some great SEO resources and, you know, other articles and everything else on there on the HubSpot blog. Yeah, so check that out. Last but not least, a friend, well, not a friend of ours, James, but somebody that we both respect as a marketer, Neil Patel.
The legend, Neil Patel, absolutely.
Yeah, Neil, you know, Neil knows his stuff. He's one of the best marketers, online marketers out there, and it's no surprise that a lot of top Fortune 500 companies, etc., use his services, James. But he's got a great article on his website, which is 58 resources to help you learn and master SEO. I'll include the link to that on our website as well in our recommended resources. And again, you've got 58 resources on that particular article, which is very comprehensive. With that and what I've just mentioned, you've got everything you need to go and educate yourself, guys, about search engine optimization. How does that sound, James?
Sounds fantastic, Tony, without a doubt. And again, it's pretty interesting, especially the HOF that you were talking about appeals to me, because if you can buy white label to actually do it for yourself, so I could be buying that service to use on my own sites, but also selling that to third parties to make a little bit of profit to cover the cost of promoting my SEO, which is, I don't know if you've thought about that or whatever, but that makes sense to me.
Yeah, to the business owner, it looks like you're providing those services because they're white labeled. But all you're really doing is, once you get the order from the client, you're then placing that order with the HOF. Very difficult to pronounce that. The HOF.
Yeah.
The HOF, especially with a British accent.
The HOF. Instead of the
HOF, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, all you're doing is then placing the order with them, and you're making a margin of profit. The difference between what they're charging you and what you're charging the customer. It's a business practice that goes on the world over, James, isn't it?
Absolutely. Everybody's got to make, the salesman's got to make his wages, no matter what way you do it, whether you're an affiliate for the product, whether you're actually the product, just a salesperson, whatever it may be, it's got to be made. Okay,
well, that's some really great resources to help our viewers and listeners educate themselves about search engine optimization. Yeah. Let's talk about tools. I know you're going to like this because you like automation, don't you?
I love automation, Tony.
Okay, well, most of these tools I'm going to tell you about, they have both free and paid versions, James. My top recommendations for the best SEO plugin for WordPress, especially, a lot of these are softwares for WordPress, James. But the top two, in my opinion, are All-in-One SEO and Yoast Seo. I think you said you've used Yoast before.
I've used Yoast. I love the traffic signal method, where it's like, if it's bad, it's red. If it's in between, it's amber. And if it's really solid, it's green. It's very simple.
They use that traffic light system, don't they? Yeah.
I love that simple method.
Just makes I mean, I would say that All-in-One SEO is by far the best way for beginners to, see their pages, see what's currently working and not working, and give them the information and the data they need to start ranking higher in the search engines. Yeah.
Okay.
That's All-in-One SEO, guys. Again, free and paid versions. If you go to the WordPress repository, or if you use WordPress and you're in your admin and you go to add a plugin, you've got the search box there to search the repository. If you just type in All-in-One SEO, it'll be the first one that comes up, as will most of these plugins I'm going to mention. Yeah. Now, another great plugin, James, is WP Rocket. Are you familiar with that?
I know the name. I've never used it, but it sounds as if it makes things go fast.
Yeah, as the name would suggest, it's all about site speed and improving your site speed to help you rank higher in the search engines. Yeah.
Awesome.
Next one is Ubersuggest. Now, there's tons and tons of keyword research tools out there, a lot of amazing ones, but this one, it's one of the best web apps for domain and keyword research, James, which again is relevant to SEO. Yeah.
Ubersuggest, is that the one with the kind of bald guy with the beard pointing up and all the things?
Yeah, it would happen to be Neil Patel's that.
Is that Neil Patel?
It is Neil Patel.
Right. Gosh, it's not that one I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of another one about keywords, and it's not.
No, Ubersuggest is Neil Patel.
Neil Patel. Yeah, I'm getting mixed up.
One of the tools on his website and his blog. But again, I'll just reiterate, it's one of the best web apps out there for domain and keyword research. And again, it's got free and paid versions. Ultimately, James, it's like with anything online, you get what you pay for, don't you? Yep. So with a lot of these resources, these softwares I'm telling you about, the free versions are great, but if you want all the bells and whistles, you have to pay for the upgrade. Yeah.
And it always makes sense to kind of try the free one. And again, like we were speaking about doing the kind of free Google My Business for a local business, if the free tools start to generate you a little bit of income, it makes sense to reinvest that money to put into the tools to take you to the next level.
I think if you're using any software on a regular basis, you can then justify the cost.
Definitely.
And as we've already established, search engine optimization is not a one-time thing.
No.
It's a constant ongoing battle that you need to be doing on a consistent basis. Yeah,
certainly, Tony, for sure.
Okay, next one for those on a budget. This is by far the cheapest WordPress SEO plugin that covers all the bases, and it's called Seo Press. You may or may not have heard of that, James, but I can highly recommend it.
Okay.
Next up is SEMrush Writing Assistant, and this is the best way to draft SEO-friendly content. Are you familiar with that one, James?
No, I'm not. I'm aware of SEMrush, but not Writing Assistant. So that's good to know.
The SEMrush website and blog is an amazing resource for SEO information anyway. But yeah, go and check out their Writing Assistant. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Is that quite affordable? Is that in the kind of budget type tools, or is that something that's quite expensive?
Again, they've got free and paid versions, James. So
okay, good to know.
I would imagine with the free version, you're going to be limited to the amount of words or characters you can use.
Okay.
And then obviously, if you upgrade, you get more resources. Yeah.
Perfect.
One of the things that's very important in search engine optimization, certainly now, but especially in the last year or so, is Schema. And there's a great WordPress plugin called Schema Pro, and it's best for getting more clicks to the rankings you already have, basically, James. Yeah. By adding Schema to your current content, it's going to help you get more traffic and more clicks, basically. Yeah. Are you familiar with Schema at all?
No. I'm nodding, but I don't know. I don't know it.
All right. Well, yeah,
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is. So,
it's particularly important for SEO in general, but certainly for e-commerce sites, and certainly without doubt for local business websites. Yeah. But that's Schema Pro, and again, all these resources will be on our website in the recommended resources section.
I'm looking forward to checking some of these out myself, to be honest.
Yeah. Now, the next one, James, that you're already aware of is Yoast Seo.
Yes.
And this is one of my top two, as I already said previously. And for a free SEO plugin for WordPress, this is by far the best of the free options. Yeah. I would say, as I said previously, this and all-in-one SEO are my two top recommendations. Okay.
Yep.
Next one is Ahrefs. A lot of people don't even realize that Ahrefs have a SEO plugin, or Ahrefs, again, however you want to pronounce it. But it's the best SEO plugin by far for advanced users. If you're a beginner, give this a miss, guys, because it'll be overwhelming. But if you're a more advanced user, then in my opinion, this is the one for you. Now, we've already touched on image SEO, James, and how important it is.
Yeah, is this these automation tools you were telling me about?
Yeah. Now, this one is called WP Smush. And what it does, it optimizes and compresses your images, but it also have lots of very cool features, even on the free version, like it'll lazy load your images. So the images only load as people scroll down the page.
Which again saves, obviously that speeds the site up, which obviously helps with rankings as well.
Once you've got this, yeah, absolutely. It basically helps your images load faster on the page, James, yeah. But it also optimizes them and compresses the images as well. The smaller that you can make the file size, the faster they're going to load, aren't they? Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's what WP Smush does. And the free version's excellent. You get even more value with the paid version. I've only ever used the free version, to be fair. It's always been enough for me. Once you've got that plugin installed and activated, any new images you ever add to your website will automatically be optimized and compressed. Yeah.
Awesome.
Now, something that you may or may not be aware of, James, mass page plugins. Are you aware of those?
No, I've heard of mass page builders, but never plugins.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah. Mass page plugins are basically a way of you, especially for a local business, of you creating targeted local service area pages. So let me give you an example, James. And it's our favorite example, plumber in Glasgow, yeah?
Yeah, okay.
If you're a plumber in Glasgow, but you cover a much wider service area, let's say you cover a 50-mile radius, your website needs to be SEO optimized for all the towns and cities and postcodes, stroke zip codes in that radius, don't they?
Yeah, and that would probably,
Okay.
where I am, that would be at least another 100 areas, at least.
Right, okay. So if you had to create a page and SEO optimize every single page for those, as your example there, those 100 service areas that your business covers, how long do you think that would take you?
That would take me a lot of time, or more to the point, a web developer. It would cost me a lot of money, I would expect.
Yeah, it's going to cost you time and money, or both, isn't it? That's for sure, and a lot of both. Fortunately, there are mass page plugins out there that automate this process in a few clicks for you. And they'll create all these local service area pages automatically, and it'll generate the content. You can do it for pages, posts, and custom post types most of the time. And it just maximizes your search engine presence, James, for a local business, yeah? Now, there's 3 resources that I would recommend highly. First one is Page Generator Pro by WP Zinc. Again, I'll put all these resources on our website in the recommended resources post, James.
Okay.
So our viewers and listeners can go and check them out in their own time. Second one is Site Ranker Pro by a good friend of mine, Neil McPherson. And the third one is Magic Page Plugin, again, by a good friend of mine, Mike Martin. All these 3 plugins have been developed over a long period of time, guys. The vendors constantly update the plugins, so you know they're going to be supported in the long term. Are you familiar with any of those, James?
I'm not, Tony, but I want to ask you a question about them. Is
Sure.
this something that before you build your website, would you install this first so that this becomes the website? Or would I, for example, if I had a website already built, would this
It can be either or.
Like,
so
that was my concern.
Yeah, you can do it on you can use these plugins on an existing website.
Okay.
Pardon me. Excuse me 1 second. Just need a quick drink. Yeah, you can use it on an existing website, or you can do it on a fresh website build.
Okay, because I was concerned with the fact that possibly the website I had built already would need to be taken down for this mass builder to
Yeah, and Guy, mass page plugins and SEO is a completely different topic in itself. Those 3 resources I mentioned have great communities, they have great support, they have great education, video tutorials on explaining everything about them.
Now, Tony,
because it's an advanced way of SEO. It's an advanced method of SEO, James. You're not going to learn it overnight. Yeah, the plugin and the software will do all the heavy lifting for you. But it's like anything we've just discussed in this entire episode. You need to use those resources and educate yourself. Yeah.
Out of those 3, Tony, is there one that you would prefer to recommend, or is there, or are they all as good?
All those 3 are really good. None of them are free. They're all paid. Some will have an annual fee, some will be monthly, but they're all subscription based. And the reason for that is because the vendors constantly update the plugins. They're constantly supported. So they have to charge a subscription because of that.
I think that's something that a lot of people forget. You know, I mean, I'm big on lifetime. You know, like if I get the opportunity for a lifetime deal, I'm jumping on it. But the lifetime deals I usually jump on are the ones that are, if it is a product that's coming out now that is going monthly, but you're getting in at lifetime at the start, then I'm jumping on it. But if there is no monthly coming, then the reality is this product's going to fizzle out and die if there's not constant people coming in and buying it again.
Yeah, I'll reiterate and agree with you totally on what you've just said there. If a product's been launched and it's a one-time payment, fantastic. As long as it's going to be subscription after the launch period,
definitely.
Great. You can pretty much, you can pretty much invest wisely in that product. If it's a one-time payment and there's no subscription afterwards, but they're promising all these upgrades and everything, you've got to ask, how are they going to fund that?
Yeah. All cost money and time.
Yeah, I can confidently recommend any of those resources we've just discussed, both free and paid. Where the mass page plugins are concerned, I would highly recommend all three of those mass page plugins. I would just say to everyone's got a different budget, James. Do your due diligence, check out those plugins, find the one that meets your needs and meets your budget. Simple as that, really.
Tony, there's only one disappointing thing for this call for me that obviously the viewers and listeners are going to benefit from, and the fact is that I need to wait on this list that you're creating, as opposed to as soon as our guys see this, it's going to be live in our those2imguys.com or a blog post or wherever it may be. So I can't wait to see this list now.
Well, it'll be on our website very shortly, James. So you'll just have to have a little bit of patience, my friend.
Yeah.
But
if you're watching now, it's there already.
Have you got anything you want to expand on or ask before we wrap up?
On SEO, it is a subject that I do kind of struggle with, but again, this has been hugely enlightening. And again, I did play it down a bit like today, because we've had these conversations before and I've been learning more about SEO, and it did frighten me before, but now having our conversations, I understand that SEO is quite simple if you just follow what you're supposed to be doing. Deliver value. If Google is searching for something, give them exactly what they're searching for, and don't try and dupe the system, because these black hat methods that people are doing to try and get a billion backlinks here and there, all they're going to do is disadvantage you. And I'll tell you why this happened to me. When I set up my first Facebook group, my Facebook page for my entertainment company back many years ago, I paid for all these reviews and things, and most of them came from Turkey. I'm based in Scotland, and then it started affecting my channel, and there was no way to get rid of this, because had paid money to literally assassinate my channel before it even got a chance to grow. So guys, think sensibly, think being productive, and think small steps, positively going forward instead of trying to get everything done fast and cheap, and obviously making a total mess of it, because you might cost you 10 times more to get your platform back to where it should be.
Yeah, the other bit of advice I would finish on, James, for our viewers and listeners is, remember, have a long-term strategy for ranking your website or any piece of content for your business, product or service. Don't look short-term. You'll see all these loopholes and all this nonsense online. Hacks. Don't fall for it. Have a long-term strategy, because trust me, if you try and game the search engines, you might get improved rankings for a very short period of time, but then you'll get slapped with penalties. So don't do it, guys. Think of SEO as an investment long-term, and you'll get the rewards back from that later on.
Tony, it's been an excellent episode. Genuinely, it's been interesting for a subject that I find completely uninteresting. Terrifying, if I'm being honest,
Well, I'm just pleased you didn't fall asleep, James. I've won.
I'll be honest, as I say, I kind of joked a few times, but I wasn't glazing over at any point. It was pretty captivating, and actually it's probably one of the episodes that you've actually heard less of me talking than you, because I've been really intent in listening. Some really clever things there. As you know, I've got an interest in the local niche, the local business niche as well, helping local businesses, and this has been hugely valuable for me on that side of my business front, as well as obviously being able to kind of promote and rank my own websites as well going forward. So thanks so much.
No, I'm pleased to hear that, and hopefully our viewers and listeners have got something out of this episode. Again, we're just giving a general overview of a very comprehensive subject, James, but as I said at the beginning, it's very important to understand the basics and the fundamentals of search engine optimization, especially if you're going to have to do the work yourself, because you haven't got the budget to go and outsource it at the moment. You've got to educate yourself. And with this episode, obviously we've been able to give people a great overview of what SEO is about, the different types of SEO, and also some great educational resources and great software resources to help them, you know, educate themselves about the topic and automate the process as much as possible. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's big on automation. I mean, for me, I mean, that's key. If I can do the work once and then that system kind of works for me. Now, I do believe that after my thinking here is I'm going to go and look at your list and obviously tick some boxes there on things that I need to fix on my websites and my SEO going forward. And then what I'm going to do is create a checklist so that I can actually go in and check these, not on a daily basis, but I'll maybe have a day once a week where I will check my SEO and I will go through and check all these things and make sure they're still performing the way they should be. And then reevaluate that every week. Even if that takes me an hour, I think that would be a huge investment in my business going forward.
With a lot of those software resources I mentioned, James, if you're using WordPress especially, the minute you install and activate those plugins, they will tell you what's wrong with your site. Mm-hmm. And it'll tell you how to improve things as well. So you'll be able to make a massive difference to your on-page search engine optimization very, very quickly, just by using the free versions of those tools. Yeah.
And again, I don't expect that I'll be able to get everything fixed on my website day one when I install one of these plugins. But if I can do a page a day, if I can fix things every other day to kind of help it grow, yeah, you know, then that's definitely
a bit of knowledge is a powerful thing, James, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So, for example, you install Yoast, activate it. That will tell you the good things and the bad things about your site as it currently is. Once you know the bad things, you can then start the process of working on those to improve them, can't you?
Absolutely.
But you've got to attain that knowledge in the first place, haven't you? And
yeah,
it all starts with getting that data. Yeah.
Yeah. And today's been very informative, and I'm sure our listeners and our viewers will have found it interesting, even if they were like, "Oh God, SEO! I don't like SEO." But it's one of those things. But this is what I would say to anybody that's listening or watching right now: if you hate the thought of SEO and you're burying your head in the sand, how many other businesses are doing that? If you pull your head out of the sand and you take some positive steps, could that take your business to the next level before your competition? And the answer is 100% guaranteed yes. Taking it on and going forward, you'll grow.
Yeah. Well, we're the total opposite on this subject anyway, James, because I find it very interesting. I could talk about it all day, literally.
Yeah. I'm going to give you the number of my therapist.
I've had to obviously try and, I've obviously had to try and condense everything down into our show time so that we're not running on for 2 hours again, yeah? But what I would say to our viewers and listeners before we wrap up for today is, guys, any questions about search engine optimization, make sure you comment below the video and we'll personally respond to your questions, yeah?
And hashtag Tony in that, because don't ask me, because I don't know it. No, seriously though, but we're looking forward to
it. If people ask the questions, I'm more than happy to respond personally to them, James.
Amazing. Thanks, Tony. We really appreciate that. Guys, I think we've came to the end of today. I mean, I think I'm going to give you a massive round of applause, Tony, even with my sore hand. I've been on the laptop too much. I've got repetitive strain injuries, the wrist guard's on. But as I say, it's been hugely insightful. Some of those tools, I can't wait to get this video finished, uploaded, and hopefully by then you'll have that list ready for me to go through. It's like a kid at Christmas. Especially the key ones there for me are definitely the Hoff. Is certainly something I'm really interested in, and some of these tools, especially obviously the mass builder plugins, they sound incredible. So for those two things really resonated with me.
When our viewers and listeners, if they go and check out those mass page plugins and they watch the demos, they'll honestly think, how is that possible? But trust me, they work and it is possible.
Excellent. Well, I'll be hopefully using this very, very soon for my local niche stuff. Well, guys, thanks once again. Tony, thank you so much. If you've enjoyed this episode of Those Two IM, guys, please like and subscribe to the channel, share the channel with your friends, and obviously other people you think would benefit from it. Please jump onto our website, those2imguys.com, okay, and obviously subscribe to our newsletter. We ain't going to spam you. I'll repeat that. We are definitely not going to spam you. We are only going to deliver some content on occasions, and believe me, we're not going to be like most internet marketers that are hitting you with an email once or twice a day, but you'll be lucky if you hear from us once a week, once a month. We're only going to be giving you stuff when it's relevant, and not just for the sake of consistency on that. So anything else you want to add before we go, Tony?
No, just to thank everyone for taking the time to be with us today. We appreciate it. And as James said, if you've got any questions, make sure you comment below the video. And aside from that, check out our website and subscribe to our newsletter. And I will reiterate that, guys, we are only going to send you occasionally very relevant information and freebies. So you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tony. Guys, we look forward to seeing you on another episode of Those Two IM Guys very, very soon. See you all later. Bye.
Bye, guys.